Hello and welcome to the World Wanderers podcast, episode 23. I'm Ryan.
I'm Amanda, and we're your hosts.
Yes, and today we're going to be talking about stuff.
What kind of stuff?
Packing stuff. What to pack, what not to pack, and then kind of the benefits of going out on a trip for so long with so little stuff. So little material items that you're traveling with you and what that does to your perspective on things and the feelings you get coming home afterwards, coming back to all your things.
Yeah, for sure. And when you talk to people who are going traveling, I think one of the big things is, how am I going to travel with just a backpack? How am I going to get all of my stuff in a backpack? And how am I going to survive with only that for 1, 3, 6, 9, 12 months, however long you're going for, even 3 weeks? I think it's fair to say that there's a lot of people out there with packing anxiety.
Yeah, no, I think packing anxiety is a good way to describe it, because you do have so many things that you use on a day-to-day basis when you're not traveling, and then you have a 75-liter backpack that's apparently going to last you for 6 months. It doesn't really make sense at first, but after you get out for a few weeks, you really notice that it was before you were having all these things you didn't need.
Yeah, for sure. And I know for me, I've had a lot of friends ask me sort of the questions like, what do you pack? How do you choose what to bring? Can you really live out of a backpack for 6 months? Have you found that as well? People just seem in complete disbelief that you've done that.
Yeah, it does seem to be something people think about, where they go for like a weekend trip and you've got a certain amount of things, and then they go for a 2-week trip and they're like, wow, I've been living out of this big suitcase for 2 weeks. Like, how have you managed to go that long out of that backpack? Because they're thinking about, you need this many things for this much time, and you must need twice as much stuff for twice as much time. But the reality is, if you're going for a 3-week trip or a 6-month trip, you need essentially the same amount of stuff, because you're just going to have to start washing it.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely had packing anxiety the first time that we went traveling too. I think, people would ask me, how are you going to get all your stuff into a bag that you're going to live out of for 6 months? And I was like, I don't know. Like, straight up, I have no idea. Did you feel that as well? Or were you pretty comfortable when it came to packing for 6 months?
I think the thing that was hard is that we were going to so many different places and different climates. So I did worry about having everything covered. And when you do end up leaving, you always kind of have this feeling that you're forgetting something.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that.
So do you just want to, or sorry?
I was going to say that, once you're going though, that feeling kind of just goes away. Once you realize that, the things in Canada kind of aren't the end all be all. Like, you can get stuff other places and it's fine.
Yeah, you kind of adjust quickly to thinking about the things you're carrying with you as the things you have, and you don't really think about the things you have back home that you could maybe use. So do you just want to get right into our tips for packing?
Yeah, for sure. What would you say is one of your top tips?
Well, to start off, I would say that make sure you don't pack your backpack completely full before you leave. One of the good things about traveling is you pick up souvenirs and other things along the way. So having some space is definitely something you want to do. If your backpack's already at like explosion levels where you need to sit on it to get it to zip up before you've left, that's going to get worse over time as you buy things along the way. I found when we go traveling, there's always cool souvenir t-shirts and other items of clothing you can buy along the way to supplement the things you have. So if you leave a bit of space beforehand, that's a good place to start from.
Yeah, definitely. I completely agree with that. The first time we traveled, my bag was pretty full, and I actually ended up mailing some stuff home because I just didn't have that much extra space. And we did a lot of activities, or we've done a lot of activities during our travels where you get free shirts. It's like, oh, you bungee jump here, you get a free shirt. Biking the death road, you get a free shirt. Then you get somewhere like Bolivia or Peru where pretty much everyone gets an alpaca sweater. And it's like, well, I'm not going to not get an alpaca sweater while I'm here just because I don't have the space in my bag.
Yeah. So when you're back home, planning your trip and you're going out looking for a bag, have you found are the best things bag wise?
One thing that I really like is the ones that zip around as opposed to ones that you stuff in the top. I found that because it opens more like a suitcase, you're able to access everything a lot easier and it keeps everything a lot more organized. And then with that, I also like having a separate compartment where you can put footwear in the bottom so you don't have to worry about your clothes getting covered in anything that's on the bottom of your shoes.
Yeah, I found the same things. Having it flip open so you can get kind of a look at everything without tearing everything out of it is really, really important. And also having multiple sections so you can put footwear. Maybe if some piece of clothing gets like particularly gross or like something's a little bit wet, you need to pack it to carry on. Also, I've seen that there is you can now get kind of a backpack suitcase combo, like a backpack with wheels that you could roll.
That's kind of a cool concept.
And it's something we talked about when we were in South America, how we were taking taxis because they're affordable and it's not safe to walk a lot of the times. In Europe, you are hauling your backpack around on your back a lot of the time, but in South America, we weren't at all. So like it almost would have been handier to have a suitcase where you can drag it around by the wheels occasionally.
Mm-hmm.
So a backpack that you could do that with is pretty cool. But with the backpack, I think one of the things that's really important is having some sort of organization system or strategy before you start packing.
Yeah, for sure. One thing that I've used that's been really helpful is packing compartments. You can get those and they're a great place to put certain items of clothes or to plan to put your dirty laundry in, just to really keep that separation and that organization. And like Ryan said, to keep things like gross, dirty items or wet items from contaminating the rest of your bag.
Yeah, this last time we went, I got a dry bag to keep my dirty clothes in. And I had one of the packing compartments. I did find though, I think if you're going to go with packing compartments, it's almost like you need to invest and keep everything in packing compartments. Because the problem I would have is I have this one packing compartment with stuff in it, but everything else in my bag is just loose. So I open it up, the packing compartment's buried under all this other stuff. So I have to completely unpack my backpack to get the packing compartment out to grab one thing, put that back, and then dump everything back on and zip the whole thing up. It's like a 15-minute process. And it's just, if you had everything in packing compartments, I feel like it would make everything a lot easier.
Yeah, I feel like 3 packing compartments, a little bag for toiletries, and then having your shoes separate in that other compartment, plus maybe like a bag for dirty clothes would be pretty much my ideal.
Mm-hmm. So moving on to some items, I think one of the important things to consider overall is a versatility of items. One of my favorite things this last time we went traveling was merino wool pullover made by Icebreaker. And it's just like a thin wool top layer thing.
Just kept you super warm.
Yeah, and it's the thing's great about those wool. I guess it's a sweater. It's not really that thick though.
It's a half zip pullover.
Yeah, so it keeps you warm, but it doesn't get. It also will keep you cool if it's a bit warmer. If you start, it's great for a range of temperatures, and that's something you need to think about. Like you don't want to bring something that's only useful in this one situation, because when you are going on a long backpacking trip, you're going into a lot of different climate areas. So you want to bring stuff that can handle all those areas. So I think I definitely recommend the stuff made by Icebreaker. I think they have t-shirts and other sweaters and things.
Yeah, for sure. And then one mistake that we made, at least I made the first time around, is that I just had a water resistant jacket and not a waterproof jacket. And I think having a waterproof jacket is really key.
Yeah.
it rains almost everywhere in the world. Like, regardless of where you're going, at some point you're probably going to get caught in a rainstorm, and it really sucks to get soaked and have all your clothes wet and be cold and just feel gross.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the thing is, if you get a thin waterproof coat, you can use like your sweaters and stuff to adjust for temperatures. So you can be somewhere hot and still have this thin waterproof coat. It's not a big deal. And then if you go into a colder climate, you can put like sweaters and stuff underneath it to warm you up. Like, you don't have to rely on bringing a big heavy coat if you are going somewhere that's cold.
Yeah, for sure. And you don't want to bring something like that unless you're going to be wearing it every time you travel, because it's going to be hard to pack it. One thing along the lines of variety is I've found that it's really helpful to not pack like 6 pairs of shorts and 4 tops and 10 bathing suits and 3 dresses. Like, you don't need all that stuff. You just need one of each to have, 2 pairs of shorts, a few tank tops, 1 t-shirt, 1 sweater that can really handle different climates. Well, I guess shorts can't handle different climates, but you have a sweater that can handle different climates. You have a pair of shorts, like jean shorts, super versatile. You can wear with every single one of your tops there. So you're not constantly stuck with the same outfits, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the things that your perspective kind of changes. I think when you're at home, variety in clothing is a big worry for a lot of people. Like, I don't want to go to work where these people see me every day wearing the same clothes.
Yeah, for sure.
And I don't know where exactly that comes from, that fear that people are going to notice you're wearing the same clothes and think you're, I guess, unhygienic. But when you're traveling, you are constantly meeting new people and on the move, and you don't really have that much stuff. But that thought about what people think about the things you're wearing really disappears. And especially variety-wise. Like, oh, I wore this shirt yesterday. Whatever, it doesn't matter. I wore this shirt 4 times this week. It really doesn't matter. So if you are at home packing and you think, well, I've only got a couple of shirts, I need more variety. You don't need that much variety. Variety causes redundancies, and then you have things that are wasting space. Like, you could better be used on something that's going to help you out in a different situation.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, if you're packing and you lay out everything you have and it's too much for your backpack, which I think is the case with most people, and at least most females, I'm going to say.
I think everyone, because a backpack is such a small thing, it's hard to think of like, oh, what do I need to travel for this long? And you pull out all the items and you're like, fuck, my bag is like not even half that size.
Yeah, like when I was cutting items, it was looking at, I had a long sleeve denim shirt and then I had a long sleeve plaid shirt. And it was like, okay, I don't need 2 long sleeve button up shirts that are the exact same length, the exact same fit, basically the exact same fabric, just 2 different colors. What's going to match with more things, and cut the other one.
Yeah, I guess maybe that's a good thing to think about when you're packing. If you're debating between 2 items, thinking about which one's most similar to the other items you have. Oh, this one's pretty close to that. Get rid of it. Its uses could be covered by this other item. And this thing that's a little bit different will be more helpful.
Yeah, and one thing that I suggest to people is to pack, pretty bland in terms of colors. Like, you don't want to have, like, I would never bring a colored pair of pants with me. I'd rather bring jean shorts and have a bunch of different tops that match with, my jean shorts, my black jeans, and my like leggings. I don't want to have like pink pants with me that match with one other thing I have. Because I think that really restricts you in terms of how you can wear your clothing then.
Yeah, and I did have a problem similar to that, which is weird to admit as a guy, but I had bought a pair of black shorts, and I have a lot of black t-shirts. So then it's like, well, when I wear these black shorts, I only have like 1 t-shirt I can wear the pair of shorts with. So it's maybe better to have like a beige pair of shorts or a couple bland pairs of shorts.
Yeah, for sure. And you took 2 pairs of shorts the first time we went traveling, black and tan. And then the second time around, you only brought your tan ones and you got way more wear out of them.
Yeah, I just had 1 pair of shorts and 1 pair of pants.
Packing champ over here.
Yeah.
One other thing that I recommend to people, and I've definitely been at fault for this, is to not buy new stuff that you've never worn before.
To go traveling
with. If you don't know that it's comfortable and that you like it, like, you probably shouldn't be bringing it. I mean, given I bought a new rain jacket, that is something that I did do. But I've also done things like I bought a pair of jean capris and I had never worn them before putting them in my backpack. And I ended up not wearing them for the first 2 months of our trip and then sending them home.
Yeah. That said, though, I think one of the things that's helpful traveling is investing in some higher quality clothing, because people tend to be motivated by cheap stuff. Whereas if you invest in, like, when you're going out traveling, and like I'm wearing the same pair of jeans probably 75% of the time, it's nice to invest in like a high quality pair of jeans that's not going to break down and fall apart. Because when you're out in these random countries, maybe you're not going to be able to find something to replace it.
Yeah, I agree with that. One of my tips is, like, don't bring anything you'd be completely heartbroken over if it gets stolen. But in the same regard, I think if you're going to bring a crappy pair of flip-flops or a pair of Birkenstocks are way more versatile. You can walk in them for long periods of time. Yes, you're spending money on them, but they're way more worth having with you because you'll get more wear out of them than crappy flip-flops that might break along the way, leaving you without any shoes.
Mm-hmm. I was going to make a point about bringing sandals that you can wear. So do you want to talk about that a bit, since you brought up Birkenstocks?
Yeah, for sure. For me, Birkenstocks are a great walking shoe. They give my feet the support they need. They don't... Sounds like an old lady comment.
It sounds like a pre-planned commercial.
It's not. That just came to me. They do give my feet the support I need, though. If I have to walk for 4 hours sightseeing in a city, I don't want to do that in flip-flops. My feet are going to hurt and be cramping at the end of the day. It's hard on my shins, it's hard on my hips and my knees. Yeah,
and walking around in flip-flops is just a terrible idea.
I mean, given that, though, like, if some people love their flip-flops and they walk in them, and that's fine. I just think that Birkenstocks for me is the way to go, or some sort of higher supporting sandal.
Yeah, and I think bringing a sandal that you can walk places in, especially if you're going somewhere, like if you're going somewhere for summer or somewhere that's tropical, being able to walk in sandals is a lot nicer than shoes, because sandals are smaller, take up less space in your bag when you're traveling, and then you can also not wear socks with them. Socks and underwear, I guess, is the kind of like trigger point for doing laundry when you're backpacking. Like, run out of socks, can't wear my shoes anymore, or I've run out of underwear and have to do laundry. So if you can not dirty socks and not dirty underwear, maybe through board shorts and other things like that, then you can kind of extend that period before you have to do laundry again.
Yeah, for sure. Bathing suit bottoms, shorts with built-in liners, that sort of stuff.
Yeah. But so I found having a pair of sneakers, I brought like Nike Frees, and they're super flexible, bendy, and can compress down, which is nice when it's going in your bag. And a pair of sandals, which can also go in your bag pretty easily, is a lot better than bringing a pair of like you don't want to bring like high top shoes or something, because then basically every time you have your backpack, you have to wear those shoes. And it's something, when we were in South America, I was dragging around this gigantic pair of hiking boots, which was just a pain in the ass. I hardly ever used them. And whenever we flew, I had to wear hiking boots because they couldn't go in my bag. I could tie them onto my bag and they'd hang off the side when we took buses. But flights, I had to wear them. And then, which meant I had to put my shoes and my Birkenstocks into my bag, and it was just created a packing dilemma.
Yeah, don't do that. One thing that I think is really important is to make sure that you have the medicine and toiletries that you need. As a female, something that is a bit of a struggle in South America is tampons. Pack tampons if you're a girl. And I mean, you don't need to pack 100 of them, but at least pack 10 to 15 of them. So when nature calls, you're not like, oh crap, I need to find some, because maybe it takes you a day or two to get to a pharmacy that has something that you want. Ryan's looking at me awkwardly now.
Like, don't pack tampons if you're a man.
What if you get a nosebleed on a bus?
I guess that could be helpful. But over-the-counter medicine is something that's helpful to have with you, especially if you're going somewhere where you don't know the language. And stuff like Tylenol, Advil, Gravol, what's the Imodium? Those types of things.
A good one.
Yeah, it takes up hardly any space in your bag. And then if you do run into a problem, you don't need to go to random, I don't know, German pharmacy or like Spanish pharmacy and ibuprofena or whatever the word is and try to find these things, because you can just rely on them in your bag.
Yeah, and when you're going in, if you're going somewhere that's you need shots and you go to a travel clinic, get them to just give you Cipro or some sort of traveler's diarrhea medication. If you're traveling by yourself or just with one other person, I think it's really important, if you do get sick or if you both get sick at the same time, to just be able to deal with it. Because there's nothing worse than feeling like you're going to die. You're like crapping your pants and you don't know what to do about it.
Yeah, and
a way to help yourself.
Most people do go to travel clinics to get vaccines, and travel clinics are good about recommending Cipro and antibiotics. One thing that I found really helpful this last time we went traveling was activated charcoal, which isn't something you hear a lot about from travel clinics. Do you want to talk about charcoal?
I don't feel like I know as much about charcoal as you do, but basically you put it in your stomach and it's really good to kind of clean bacteria out, I guess. Activated charcoal binds with bacteria, kind of just like cleans out the grossness inside of you.
Yeah, and it will also kind of clog up if you've got an unclogging problem.
Okay. Another thing that we had that was really good for that was hydration salts.
Yeah.
If you're sick in bed all day and you are not keeping anything in your system to get some hydration salts in, will probably, get you through that day and just help you to like prevent you from getting more sick in terms of getting dehydration. Yeah,
that's something we didn't travel with the first time and did when we went this past time. We got quite sick quite a few times, like Asia, South America. It's not the greatest food hygiene. The first time you don't have anything with you. So it's like, I had diarrhea and maybe have a fever, like feeling shitty. I don't want to get out and go find like Gatorade. Maybe I'm somewhere where they don't even have Gatorade. Mm-hmm. Having hydration salts takes up no space in your bag effectively. And I think I had maybe like 20 of them in my bag. So it's tiny space waster. And it's really a practical thing to have because it really helps you out if you're feeling sick to get rehydrated again.
Yeah, definitely. Do you have any last packing tips?
Yeah, I've got a few. One of the things, this might be a personal problem, but
definitely a personal problem.
I like to hang on to books, which maybe is a topic for another podcast, but so I would waste a lot of space. I don't know if it's a waste, but I'd use a lot of space in my backpack with like 4 different books that I bring traveling with me, maybe things that I don't want to not bring. One of the things that I've learned over 12 months of traveling that I'm going to apply to next time is to bring a Kindle or some ebook reader, because it gives you the ability to have a whole bunch of books in a tiny amount of space. And then I could probably have like a square foot of my backpack, which isn't taken up by books. It is like my worry about it was when you're in a sketchy place, using electronics isn't like, I know sometimes it's uncomfortable if you're on like a sketchy bus to pull out your electronics. You feel more comfortable if it's just a book.
Yeah.
But I think with the cheap, like the way e-readers are getting, they're pretty cheap. So I think it's a really good thing to have. It allows you to have a huge variety of information and books just on one thing.
Yeah, for sure. And on the other hand of that, I don't really have any personal attachment to my books. So, to just bring a few books with you and then just do a book swap at hostels, which is really common all over the world. That's another option if you don't hang on to books.
But you still use space on books.
Yeah, that's very true. An e-reader would be good.
Because you occasionally want to read a gigantic book and then it takes up a lot of space. It is nice though, every hostel seems to have a book swap. You only run into a good one occasionally, but it is nice to have an actual physical book that you can trade and get a better book.
Yeah, I think too, maybe an option to what you're talking about with the uneasiness of having that piece of electronics when you're in somewhere that's maybe a little bit more poor is to have, one book, and it's kind of like I read this in public spaces, and then you have your e-reader for all other.
Yeah. But if you are currently packing your bag to go on a month-long, 6-month backpacking trip, and you've got like 5 books laid out on your bed that you're going to attempt to put in your bag, maybe you should go out and get a Kindle.
Yeah, no, for sure.
And then another thing I wanted to mention was travel locks. I think it's something pretty much everyone considers when they go traveling, but I found them really helpful, and they tend to break. So it's nice to have a couple. We found that the cable locks, where you could lock a couple bags together, and then a couple of the zipper locks are a good thing to have with you.
Yeah, for sure. I think we've traveled with like 4 or 5 locks. Just, have a bunch. You never know when you're going to need them. We both had one each break on us this last time. So,
and it's one of those things that's easy to get at home, depending on the place you're in, a bit harder to get. So it's not something you can easily replace, even though it's something you can easily acquire before you leave. And yes, bringing travel locks doesn't safeguard against theft too well. I mean, the cable locks are basically like a thing of flaws. But what it does is you usually store your bags in a situation where there's a whole bunch of other bags around. So it just makes your bags not the easiest ones to steal from. And that tends to work. We've never had anything stolen from us.
Knock on wood. Yeah, so it's pretty interesting, living this time period where you carry all of your stuff on your back. And at first it seems so daunting and impossible. And then you kind of just normalize it and it becomes just what you're doing. And then it becomes really weird to come home. Did you want to elaborate on that?
Yeah, it's a very weird feeling to get home. You're out of your backpack now, and then you're digging through all this stuff that you had left at home, and it's been there for 6 months. So you've really forgotten about it. So it's kind of new, and it's like, wow, I have like 2 pairs of shoes again. Like, 6 t-shirts. It's kind of a good feeling. It kind of feels like a Christmas a little bit.
Yeah, it's like going shopping in your own closet.
Yeah, but I think there is quite a bit of value in uncluttering your life. And it's a really good opportunity when you do come home from backpacking to maybe get rid of those items that you haven't used for 6 months because you're not going to use them and they're just going to fill up your house. I know for us, we sold what we thought was a lot of our stuff, moved out of our apartment, went traveling for 6 months, came home, and then we were going through our storage unit. Like, why did we keep all of this stuff?
Yeah, like we just had so much stuff that we're like, why do we even own this? Like, this is so stupid. So it really puts into perspective, what you do and do not need. I've been somebody who's had a very, very, very large closet since I was an early teenager. So for the last 10 years, I've been living with a lot of clothes and using material items to just, make myself happy if I was unhappy with something else in my life. And it was really good for me to come home this last time and just kind of cleanse out my closet and be like, why do you own this? Like, I have stuff that's so old. I don't wear it. I just hang on to it. And so traveling has really shown me that you really don't need a lot of possessions to live in the world.
Yeah, but you trick yourself into thinking you need them.
Yeah, for sure.
Like I think I need 10 dress shirts for work when it's like, really, you don't. You could get by with less.
Yeah, no. And it's weird because when you're traveling, you wear the same clothes day in and day out, and it just, like, it seems fine. When you're home, it's like, oh, well, I only have 4 dress shirts. Like I already wore this dress shirt one time this week. Like I should probably get another one so that I can rotate through. Sort of this idea that because you're around the same people, I guess, that you have to change up your wardrobe.
Yeah. It's funny. We had a conversation last night that was kind of about this, how people worry about what other people think of them so much. And then the reality is other people don't think about you almost at all. No one's going to notice if you've worn the same shirt 3 times, and maybe someone will, but people are like, oh, I've worn this twice this week. Someone's going to notice. And you're paranoid about it. But first of all, it doesn't really matter if you're wearing the same shirt multiple times. Second of all, no one's probably going to notice because people care about you a lot less than you think they do.
Yeah, I think the thing to keep in mind if you're feeling self-conscious about that is that people are so much more concerned about themselves that they're not thinking about you, right? Like they're having the same internal dilemma that you're having over your clothing probably, or a dilemma about something else that they're worried about you thinking about them in a certain way.
Yeah. It's kind of funny to experience it though when you're traveling because we'll stop at times. We talked about going to language school in Buenos Aires in one episode, and we will talk about doing a longer tour in Greece in a future episode. And you really forget the idea of worrying about what other people think about what you're wearing while you're going day to day, because you're meeting new people, moving around places, and then you kind of start hanging out with the same group of people again for like a week, 2 weeks, and then those thoughts all come back to you like, oh, I've worn this shirt yesterday and I can't wear it again because I wore it yesterday, even though there's no reason why you couldn't. And then also like, oh shoot, all my clothes are a little bit dirty. It's weird how you care more about what you look like when you have a bit of a relationship and a past history with people.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's a great point to make. It's interesting and it's weird. And when you think about it, it doesn't really make much sense. I think though for me, traveling was a huge learning experience in terms of what I really need in my life. I try to, if I'm buying clothing now, it's, I don't need this. I want this. Because it's not a need. I don't need anything more than I already have. I don't even need everything that I do have.
Well, you need probably like 15% of it.
Yeah.
I don't say that about you in particular, but just in general. Like, I think I'm at the same point where I have a whole bunch of stuff I don't need. Mm-hmm. I occasionally use it, but because I use it doesn't mean I need it. I could probably be fine without it.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. Do you have anything else you want to add before we say adios?
No, I think we pretty much covered it. If you want to check out the show notes, they're on the website, The World Wanderers theworldwanderers.com. And we'd love to hear feedback, or if there's anything that you have as a must pack item that we didn't talk about, or something we talked about packing that you think is stupid and irrelevant. We'd love to hear from you at theworldwandererspodcast@gmail.com.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.